All right. Hey, friends, today's episode is packed with three powerful takeaways. What nobody tells you about Shark Tank, the bold move that changed everything for our guests, and the one piece of advice they give their 18-year-old self. So, this guest is extremely fascinating, and I'm going to tell you right here, also a Shark Tank entrepreneur. Dr. Robert Yonover is a PhD geochemist and volcano expert with a history of groundbreaking innovations, including multiple US patents and military approved survival technologies like sea rescue, which was featured on Shark Tank. His research includes deep sea dives off the Galapagos Islands with lab work at NASA and MIT. A North Shore big wave surfer and Malachi Channel fisherman, he uses the ocean as his laboratory. Dr. Yonover has appeared on Shark Tank, CNN, PBS, the Discovery Channel, and is an author of multiple books, including Hardcore Inventing and Brainstorm Islands. He's passionate about education, and he champions creativity and innovation for all ages. So without further ado, I am super excited to introduce Dr. Rob Yonover.
Hey, thank you, Courtney. That's sweet. That was a nice intro.
Of course, it's so great to have you and a fellow
My
Shark
pleasure.
Tank entrepreneur.
Yes. We were in the tank. Not together, but we were in there.
Hey, we still went through the same rigmarole to get there. So,
Uh,
man, mad
exactly.
respect for you.
Thank you. Same here. Ditto. I know what it takes, and it's not easy.
It's
I
not
know. Were
easy
you
at all.
were you solo there too? It was just you against all five.
No, I actually had a business partner with me.
Oh,
So I
okay.
had a crutch.
Okay, that's okay. I won't hold it against you. No problem.
Thanks, Rob. I appreciate that. So I'm
Uh,
going to start with you like all my guests. And can you just give us a little bit more about yourself?
sure. I'm a scientist and inventor, and I'm originally a volcanologist. I came to Hawaii to get my PhD a long time ago, working on submarine volcanoes. And I surf big waves, I fish rough water. I'm always on the edge of dying, it seems. So I invent survival gear for the military. And one of my inventions went all the way, my sea rescue streamer. And I'm still surfing and fishing in rough water, but I'm still trying to not die. And I even carry my own streamers just in case I get lost at sea or on the volcano.
Well, I'm glad you're here with us today. And it sounds
Thank
like you
you.
need to have sea rescue with you all the time. So, along those lines, tell us what nobody talks about when you're on Shark Tank. Can you share some insight?
Well, for one thing, they gave me a chance to pick who I wanted to demo the streamer with. And I said, let me get Mr. Wonderful, because I knew he was short and he always pisses me off how rude he is to the people. So I knew he would have to come to get the streamer from me to unfurl it. So he stood next to me and I could look straight down on his short, bald head. Not that bald is bad or short, but for him, I wanted to give him a little grief. And the other thing is the stare down. I don't know if you remember, they want you to do the stare down like a prize fight. So like 40 seconds, I'm looking at Mark Cuban, I'm looking at Mr. Wonderful, and I just kind of reverted back to my competitive kind of basketball days or surfing. It's like, okay, I'm ready, let's go. So that was pretty trippy because you're so nervous to get ready to speak, but you have to stall, you have to take a break. So that was something
That's,
that,
yeah, that 60-second waiting period feels like 10 hours.
exactly. You're so amped up and you're trying to relax and it's hard. I could talk about that experience forever. And I mean, I know we're not supposed to talk about certain things. Let them
Well,
come out.
Rob, how about this? Can you actually share with our audience what sea rescue is?
Sure. When you're lost at sea or lost in the mountains, typically you have smoke signals or flares or sea dye marker, even EPIRBs or electronic devices like a phone tell you where you are. But if you ever ask anyone that searched for anyone, especially search pilots, the number one thing they need is a visual target. So sea rescue is a long orange piece of plastic with patented struts in it. So it's like a centipede. It doesn't twist up and it gives you a long orange tail. It's so simple. It's stupid simple. You know, KISS, keep it simple, stupid. They're gonna
Yes.
put, I'll be in the dictionary one day with this is the best KISS idea ever because it is so stupid. A little kid could have thought of it. If I'm lost at sea, I want to have a 25 or 40-foot long orange tail. Because I had struts in it, it won't twist up. It stays flat. There's one right behind me. And it's just a simple device. And it's gone through many iterations. It's used by militaries all over the world. It's even used by the astronauts. It's under their ass on the SpaceX flights in case they splash down and get lost. It's used on fighter jets. And we have more sophisticated versions than just the regular one that manually unfurls. I have one that dissolves when it hits the water. So the fighter pilot, if he's unconscious or dead, the pouch dissolves, opens up, and it starts signaling immediately whether the pilot is dead, unconscious, or asleep. And the other thing the military loved about it is it's discretionary, meaning if the enemy comes around, you can put it away, then you can redeploy it. You can't do that with smoke signals or flares. And the other thing is it's continuous. So like I said, you could go to sleep in a raft or boat or on the mountain and you know it's working for you. You're hoping that someone sees this little orange stripe. And it's small. They're as big as a cell phone.
It's so simple in theory. So if you haven't watched the episode, if you're listening, again, it's season 8, episode 22. You can see the sea rescue. It is so super simple and makes so much sense in so many ways.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, no, it's crazy. I mean, it was hard to make it work. It's so simple looking, but the struts were the breakthrough. Every strong thing in nature, like your vertebrae, is segmented. So I made it segmented. The way I attached the struts was critical too, to make it not get pulled down by the water. It is simple, and simple is a compliment. Don't get me wrong. I like simple solutions are the best, and that's what I always shoot for.
That's really amazing. I mean, I start to think of hikers, and people really should just have this everywhere if they're out in nature or the wilderness.
I agree. And, it's such a no-brainer because, again, there's no batteries, chemicals, or electronics. So anyone in the marine world or the hiking world knows stuff breaks all the time. So you don't have to worry about it breaking. And that was one of the big mistakes I made. I'm a scientist. I'm not a business person. The big mistake I made to this day is it doesn't wear out. So I sell to someone and they have it. The one I have on my boat's 40, 30 years old. And that's okay. I like that. That means I solved the problem unequivocally and indefinitely. And I'll take that. I don't care. The money, I don't even care about the money. I mean, I used to care and I still care about it, but it's not one of those return products where you need to buy a new battery or have it updated every year.
You're being good for the environment, and we're going to leave it at that.
Exactly. No batteries, chemicals, or electronics. And those are all bad for the environment. Where you get them, how you dispose of them, everything. Absolutely.
So, simple. Rob, before we move on, did you get a deal? What happened when you walked away from it?
No, it was incredible because they all loved it and thought it's going to save more lives than it already has. Every shark liked it, but they all went out and they thought I know more about the military and technology, and they didn't think they could help me, which was really ironic. And they took a lot of grief for it after, because I couldn't believe, first of all, that they didn't care about saving lives versus money. They only cared about money. I was kind of in shock. I thought I was going to have a bidding war. The good news is they all like, and on national TV, and as you know, they do reruns. It's been on like 100 times already, and it's awesome. They show it over and over, and I didn't, they respected me a lot, which was cool. Mark Cuban kind of had a crush on me, which was made me a little uncomfortable. I mean, I'm heterosexual, not that homosexual is a problem, but I've never winked at anyone in my life. I winked at him on the way out and said, give me a call. I'm still waiting for him to call me. It was shocking to me in real time. But afterwards, I'm like, okay, well, and my producer said, oh, that went well. I'm like, really? No one invested? I go, well, yeah. You did great. So I took it at that. They edited it. I was in there for like an hour, and they only show you 7 minutes. And Mark Cuban wouldn't leave me alone about my PhD working on submarine volcanoes. He wanted to know more about that. At one point, Mr. Wonderful said, stop talking to him about volcanoes. Let's talk about the streamers. I could talk to this guy all day. So anyway, I think he was bored. Too many cookies and cupcake ideas. And the other thing is, so the irony is the hour show, if you go watch season 8, episode 22, the other 3 people, you get 4 typically in the hour, they all got funded. And they were like a wine sippy cup, booty pants that make your ass look bigger, and a backpack that's hard to cut into. And the people online were going crazy. They're going, you guys funded all 3 and you didn't fund this life-saving device? That was crazy. So
the good news is, Rob, your product is still in business. You're still selling it and helping people across the world.
Yes, I'm not going anywhere. Tortoise in the hare. I'm the ultimate tortoise. I've been doing this forever. I'm not giving up, and I'm slow and methodical. And if you keep your overhead low, and that's the other thing about investors. I kind of afterwards, I'm like, is Mark Cuban really going to work with me? Or is it going to be some 30-year-old admin person from his office hassling me about, you got to move from Hawaii. You need to go to this trade show. You need to go to this military. I'm like, I don't need all that. I'm on like a mission because I save people. And I've had people thank me for saving them. I'm like, that's the mission. Okay. It's to contribute something in society that matters. and just make sure you don't overextend. Take people as investors. That's, to me, is overextending, because they're going to start telling you what to do. They're your partners. And I don't like people telling me what to do, especially at this point. So if you keep it lean and mean and you go for the duration, that's where I'm at. I'm going all the way.
Well, Rob, it's super cool what you've been able to achieve and that you help so
Thank
many
you.
people. I mean, it's
Thank you.
really amazing. Now we got to move on to some other big questions. And
Anytime. Let's go.
we're going to get deep now. So, what would you say was the bold move or confident choice that took things to the next level for you?
I mean, there's so many, but the one thing was believing in this thing 30 years ago when I thought of it, and I'm struggling. We have little kids. My wife got MS, so she's in a wheelchair, and I'm eventually building this piece of plastic. And she said, "Stop playing with this piece of plastic and get a real job," which
Mm.
eventually she ate those words. But that whole sticking with something, and I realized a long time ago that any venture, business, invention, anything takes even up to 10 times as much money and 10 times as much time as you think. So again, back to the tortoise and the hare, I could have quit so many times, but I'm like, don't quit if you believe in it, and keep going, but don't quit your day job. You got to have another source of income. You can't just invent or start a business and think it's going to go wild. You need a lot of time to let it grow. And sometimes things grow slowly. And with the military and the government, it takes a long time to do things. But I kept getting good input. So people encouraged me. There were people that put me down, and there are still people that think you're crazy, you're ridiculous, but not anymore, really, because it's proven by the military, it's approved, it's saved lives, patents, the whole thing. But it's still a tough slog to keep it going. But I have the vision, and then it's just beneficial, and I don't want to quit ever. It defines me at this point, and I have all these other inventions, but just have to watch your time budget, right?
Right. So, two things that come to mind. Can you share with the audience how you came up with this idea, Rob?
Absolutely, absolutely. I was a grad student, and my friend rented a plane, and we flew to the neighbor islands, to Kauai. And have you ever been in a rented plane? It sounds like a Volkswagen. It was not really well maintained, so it didn't sound too good. I'm looking down at all that blue water going, and my wife and his girlfriend were with them. I'm like, if this thing crashes, it's not going to sink right away, but it's going to sink. I could probably swim the mile or two to the shore, but they can't. They're all going to die. I started thinking about it, and then flares, smoke, sea dye, all goes away. And then a couple weeks later, I flew to Miami, where I grew up. And have you ever heard of Christo, the artist? He
Yeah.
wrapped he wrapped those islands in Miami in pink plastic. And just a couple weeks after that plane ride, I flew over that and said, "That's it. I need pink plastic." And then I thought, if I had a long pink plastic tail, and those were the early days. My neighbor was a Navy captain. He goes, "Yeah, you got to lose the pink. You know, the Navy doesn't like pink." So we went to International Orange, and then just kind of took me years. I was teaching, and I had to figure out how to make it with the struts. That was the key. So it was a bunch of events, but it was those two events: the plane ride that might have crashed, and then flying over these fluorescent. You can go online and look at Christo, Miami Islands, pink, and you'll see it. And it was so visual from like 5,000, 10,000 feet coming in for a landing. I'm like, oh my God, that's it. So that's the story.
That was your aha moment.
Absolutely. It's just there's so many, but that was the original one. And then just trying to get people interested. That's the other thing. My brother, who's a advertising guy, used to tell me there's editors sitting on their ass every day wondering what to write about. You need to tell them about this. So I made a
Right.
one-page fax. I'm an old timer. You know what a fax machine is?
Oh,
If
I
you don't.
do. I do,
Okay.
Rob. Nope. I know fax
Okay.
machines.
Okay. Well, at 11 o'clock at night in Hawaii, at 11:01, the phone calls were so much cheaper than all day. So every night at 11 o'clock, I would send this one fax to all these editors and military people and just keep sending it. So it's like fishing. You put one line in the water, you might catch a fish. But if you put 100 lines in the water, so that I got the Miami Herald wrote about it first. Then I took that article and I did that with it. And then I'm a polite pain in the ass. And perseverance is off the chart. So like Outside Magazine, it took me 3 years to get in there. And I go, take notes and say, "Hey, can I call you back?" "Oh, we can't do anything about it. Call me back in a couple months." Make a note, and I called them in a couple months. Finally, they wrote about it. And also let people have a little ownership in their creativity of it. So Men's Journal wrote about it, and they said something really funny and great, which I love, which was Gilligan's Island would have been one episode if they had the Sea Rescue Streamer. I love that. See, so you don't want to micromanage everyone, right? So,
Right. So what you're saying is entrepreneurship is not easy, right?
oh no,
That was your big bold move you just talked about, was actually taking the leap into your aha moment, making it happen. Sales 101, you got to persevere, you got to have grit, and you got to stay at the forefront, because if you don't, guess what? No one else is. Hey, I've got a question for you. Want to make thousands more in your next salary negotiation? If you knew there was a proven system to help you land more money, better benefits, and a total compensation package that reflects your worth, would you take it? The Salary Bump Accelerator is that system. It's packed with everything you need to get out of your head, prepare for your interview like a pro, and negotiate with confidence so you never leave money on the table again. And because you're a loyal listener to Bold Moves Confident Choices, you get 15% off with code BOLD15. That is all caps BOLD15. Go to thesalarybump.com to get started, because your next paycheck should be your best one yet. Let's get you paid what you're worth.
exactly. Again, the day job though is critical. I think
Yeah.
most people think, I don't care how good your idea is, you need to make money. So I say, don't quit your day job so you can quit your day job. So the beauty of a day job is you get your check, you go 9 to 5, but I talk to kids a lot. And if you do the math, there's like 120 hours in a week, 40 hours of your day job, that leaves 80, another 40 for sleeping. That's still another 40. So you have 40 hours a week, nights, weekends, to work on your job, on your invention or business, till it can take over the day job. Then you calmly, gladly go in and quit your day job. That's when you rely solely on your entrepreneur effort.
Rob, that's a very important point, because you hear both philosophies. You hear that if you don't go all in, you're not committed. But in
Right.
reality, you also have to be realistic about what you're trying to achieve. It takes money to move forward
Exactly.
with your idea. It's not cheap. You invest a lot
Exactly.
typically before you can
Exactly.
start selling and bringing income in.
And then other people's money is what people talk about, but be careful. Like I said earlier, if you take other people's money, those are kind of like partners. And if it's friends and family, that's kind of worse, because then you feel bad about taking money from your family. So that's why the day job, you need to fund it. I don't know if you're a fan of poetry or writing, but you know Charles Bukowski, this crazy writer,
I've
and
heard the
he
name, but
he's
enlighten
he's a
me.
yeah, he's like a maniac writer. He's a crazy guy, but he passed away. But his whole thing was he got a job in the post office just so he had the paycheck to be an alcoholic writer. And I'm not condoning alcoholism, but that's what he did. All night and every weekend, he wrote until he could fund himself. And his first book is called Post Office, too. Also, the other startup and Shark Tank is they encourage you to blow it up big, get all the money, get funding. That's risky, because finance people want to see results right away. And back to the taking 10 years for really to build something, it takes too long for most ideas to build. And the investors get impatient and they blow the company up. And I've had people
Right.
all the time. Every time I do anything, people email me and say, hey, I got money. Can I invest? I'm like, no, I don't need money. You know, I used to tell people I need your Rolodex. I don't need your money.
Oh,
Another
I love
reference
that.
to a
I need
Rolodex.
your Rolodex, not your
Yeah,
money.
exactly. That's what I would say to Cuban and any of those guys. I don't really need you guys. Tell me, how you connect me to someone that knows an admiral or someone that has TV spots that can bring me on Good Morning America or whatever it is.
Our network is the most powerful thing we can have. And
Absolutely.
if we can lean into that and really nurture those relationships, it'll take us far.
And also look small too. Some products are niche products. So if you're a niche product, start in your community. And if you want to get press for it, start in the local paper or local website, local things. You know, everyone thinks they're going to hit the home run and they just put a website up or get on Amazon and that's it. No, you've got to network, like you're saying. And commonly it's small things. And, you know, that whole crowdsourcing, I was doing that before they called it crowdsourcing. I go eat bean
Yeah,
burritos at Taco Bell and I ask those guys what they think of this. I ask everyone what they think of things. I take it with a grain of salt, some people's opinions, but opinions are good. And it's also a form of networking.
for sure. Back to it's okay to crawl, walk, run. There's a reason behind that whole philosophy. I know we all experienced it a little in Shark Tank. We kind of were crawling and then we got sprinting once we aired on Shark Tank, but we figured it out.
it's overwhelming. But that philosophy, my son just had a baby and they got this kid, they're trying to stand her up
Congrats.
to walk. Thank you. And I'm like, they push people too fast. Crawling is really good for setting your brain. And there's something about crawling, and a lot of parents try to get their kids to walk before they crawl. And I mean, it's apropos to business, but I think it's apropos to child development too. It's something about crawling that is important, and getting dirty too. When you crawl, you get dirty.
Yeah, and we forget as parents, once they start walking, then they can go anywhere really
Right.
fast. So let's keep them
Exactly.
crawling for a while.
Absolutely.
So, Rob, I've got to jump into this next question. And that is,
Sure.
what piece of advice would you give to your 18-year-old self today?
I'm one of the few people that was crystallized what I wanted to do when I was 18. I lived in Miami and the waves were terrible and the women were mean to me. And I wanted to become a surfer. I was a surfer, but the waves were tiny. So I wanted to live in a tropical island with beautiful waves, women, multicultural, and I just stuck to it. So I think sometimes you have to stick to that mindset at 18. I would tell someone myself is respect those feelings. You like science, you like surfing, you like inventing, you like travel, you like music. That is your blueprint. Don't think that just because you're old, and I'm old now, I'm the same person, really. There's nothing really has changed, except I'm a full on adult, I'm responsible, but I'm waiting to go surfing the next time I can, listen to music, travel, talk to beautiful women. I mean, that's secondary. I'm a widower at this point, so unfortunately. And I would also say what I just said about the tortoise and the hare. Take your time and also try things on. I tell that to all kids, my kids, any kid. Try it on. You want to be an engineer, try it on. Go take a class, I'll volunteer, but try things on, just like clothes. And if they don't fit, you take them off and you try something else. It's not the end of the world. But instead of jumping into it and making a firm life commitment to something, get a taste of it. If you think you want to be a doctor, go hang out in a hospital for a couple of days. You might change your mind. And it's better early to experiment with things than later, because later you start making choices and your choices get more refined and more limited.
Right. So, Rob, what I hear you say is be the best you can be, as in yourself, like embrace who you are.
For sure.
Don't be afraid to try new things and take a risk.
Yep.
Change is okay. And then make sure you crawl, you walk, you run before you sprint. And
Right.
there's a reason behind the process.
Right. And even in that progression, you might crawl, fall, walk, fall and crawl again, sprint, fall, crawl, walk. Once you stop crawling, that doesn't mean you're not going to crawl again in some time in your life. And we've all had tough moments where you have to revert to crawling. I'm
Such a
saying
great,
literally.
no, it's a great point. I'm glad you brought that back around because
Right.
we've all crawled, we've all walked, we've fallen so many times, especially us who have that entrepreneurial spirit. That's what
Yeah.
keeps us going.
When I was in high school, I took a class that blew my mind. It still changed my life. And it was like freshman English or literature. And the guy made us read all these classic books. And the thing that really struck me, all these books blew my mind because I wasn't much of a reader early on. Emerson and Thoreau, Self-Reliance, and on Walden Pond, Nature. So those two things, and I've always been a solitary nature person. That's where I go to revive myself, to think deeply. The kids and the people are too connected with all these devices, which I've been railing against since the first Apple phone. Everyone's saying how great it is. I'm saying, no, this is the worst thing that's ever happened. And I think I've been validated because they're horrible. I mean, they're good if you know how to use them and if you're disciplined enough to use them. But we're too connected. You need to learn about yourself, be able to rely on yourself, and be in nature with yourself. That's why, again, young people are always like, oh, I got to bond here. I got to work with groups. You got to learn to be alone because ultimately every big decision you kind of make it alone. So you have to revert back to being self-reliant.
For sure. And Rob, I can't believe we're coming to an end here. And
No
when
way.
people, if they want to reach out to or find you, where do they
Sure.
go?
Rob Yonover, just my name. I'm on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn, and Amazon has Sea Rescue Streamer, or Rob Yonover on Amazon has my books. I wrote a bunch of little books, and Hardcore Inventing, Caregiver's Survival Guide, Hardcore Health, and Brainstorm Islands, which is a children's book. Or just drop me a line. I'm not the greatest social media guy, but I'm on there. you can find my stuff.
Rob, we'll make sure to have all your products in the show notes. So if you want to see what Rob has invented and the books he's written, definitely check out the notes there. And then, Rob,
Thank
before we leave, is there any one last thing you want to leave us with today?
Well, I think that, again, I have so many little colloquialisms about charging. You have to charge forward, and that's kind of like falling back. The whole thing is momentum and the
Mm.
attitude of you charge. Like in surfing, the whole thing about surfing is dropping in, and the bigger the waves get, the scarier it is. So to take the drop, you've got to go. You got to paddle hard and not be scared. I call it board speed and ball weight. And ball weight it can be women too, but you got to have the board speed to get fast enough to charge into what you're trying to do, and then have the balls or guts, let's say. Board
Yeah.
speed and guts to go. You've got to go. And in surfing, you're not afraid because you fall into water. Typically, there's reef and you can drown, but still, it's not like concrete. But in life and business, you got to charge hard. And again, you have to train for it. You don't just go out to pipeline and think you're going to take over the peak. Just like in life, you want to become an inventor, you have to do the homework. You got to know your industry. So before you can charge in, you got to train. And that's where people lose their traction. They're not disciplined enough to train. And again, back to self-reliant. Yourself has to say, you need to do this, this, and this to try this. And even if you fail, at least you gave it a good shot. Just like Shark Tank. How much prep did you do before you went on? You didn't just go there and do it, right? And then while you're in it, you're trained because you've gone through so many iterations of pitching that when something goes wrong, you revert back to something else. So it's all about experience. The only way to get experience is to go for experience.
Well, Rob, thank you for today. And
My
everyone,
pleasure.
keep pushing forward. You got this. And as always, be bold, be confident, be you. And thanks for being here today.